With so many podcasts out there, shows can get lost in the shuffle. That's why we implore you to check out Too Many Captains. You can find us at amoviepodcast.com.
5 unique takes on Hollywood movies and culture. Find us on Twitter at It's a Film Podcast.
Check our intellectual deep dives into theatrical films. Find us on Instagram at Too Many Captains Productions.
Unique takes on soundtracks. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Too Many Captains Productions.
Find us at amoviepodcast.com on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. And now, here comes a new episode of Collateral Cinema.
It's Morbin time on the director's cut as Ash and Beau sit down to review the cinematic masterpiece, the movie of all time, the god among cinematic gods, Morbius. So stick around, folks. The Morbin starts right now. Welcome to Collateral Cinema Morbin Time, the most Morbin podcast around, where we talk about good morbing, bad morbing, and just morbing in general. We are totally coming from the same world that Morbius exists. And yes, my friends, it's Morbin Time.
It's Morbin Time.
Morbin Time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Collateral Cinema Director's Cut back at you, and we are doing Morbius. I mean, we had to do this at some point, you know? This movie just has such an interesting story to it, and just the memes, man. We had to do this.
Truly, one of the movies of all time.
It is a movie. I mean, just that's the best you can say about this. It's a movie, right?
It is a movie, and Jared Leto is one of the actors of all time.
An actor indeed. Truly an actor.
Truly an experience. Truly a movie, all right? So I know that the Morbius memes have died down a little bit, but we decided to just end it all with a bang. We had to talk about it. It had to be discussed. It fairly recently came out on digital, so...
Yeah, and we watched it twice, actually.
Yeah, we did. We got morbed twice. We got the full Morbin experience.
And I have to say that both times it was equally shitty, but, you know, equally as fun.
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny. I'm watching this movie, and my parents went to go see it in theaters. I didn't see it until just recently. And I was doing the memes the whole time, and I hadn't even seen the fucking movie. But my parents unironically liked this.
Wow.
And what's funny is they give me shit for, like, anime sometimes if I put that on, you know, when I would put that on in the living room or whatever. You know, they'd give me shit for it. And I'm like, this is 1,000 times cringier. The dialogue, the writing... the exposition.
My lord, this actually makes weebdom look good. In comparison to, like, Western comic book fans.
Yeah, and apparently Jared Leto didn't use his normal method acting approach here. And I don't know, like, at least the method acting made him stand out.
What do you think he would have done to prepare for this role if he would have done full method acting for
Get
Morbius?
in a tank with bats?
Oh, he totally would have done that. And I don't know. Something I'm going to say here. I'm a little put off by how they portrayed bats in this movie. It's like every other movie. They're obviously as very evil, nasty, vicious creatures, but in real life, no, bats aren't like that, man. I mean, bats are actually kind of adorable.
Remember, these are vampire bats.
Even vampire bats are pretty innocuous. I mean, they don't even actually suck blood. They just kind of lick you from a little nick that they put in you, you know?
Yeah.
It's practically like a mosquito bite. Just you know, an actual... flying mammals doing it.
Well, and the premise of Morbius is that he's a living vampire. He is, and the story in the comics is the same as in the movie. He was scientist who suffers from a rare genetic blood condition. He or a rare blood condition. I don't remember if it's genetic or not, but
it's at least degenerative.
Yeah, but he has a rare blood condition that he's trying to solve to cure through his research, and he ends up acquiring pseudo vampiric abilities. And so he is a living vampire, and he's a vampire by science fiction means, not through supernatural means, which was, kind of the premise of the whole character. He's not a particularly well-known villain, but he is a member of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. He is, like Venom and like as portrayed in this movie, sometimes an anti-hero. But what was so weird about this premise from the get-go as a movie is this character has never been portrayed on screen. Now, with Tom Hardy's Venom, it kind of worked. I mean, it still would have been better to introduce him as a villain, but it kind of works to just go ahead and have him have his own spin-off movie because he's already had an on-screen, an on-screen portrayal.
Yeah.
With Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3. So that kind of worked, and he's a very popular character. People were well aware of Venom. He is the epitome of 80s Spider-Man. Morbius is not somebody most casual fans are going to know about, and he has never been depicted on screen. So why are we doing a spin-off movie about Morbius when he hasn't even been featured as a villain yet in any universe? It's weird what Sony's been trying to do, and it's like they have the rights to Spider-Man, yet they're refusing to use Spider-Man, and this movie omits all mention of Spider-Man that was in the trailers and the promotional work, save for the credit scene.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was contractual obligations that made them do this. More or less.
Well, and Sony planned out this whole thing. They're still doing Kraven. Another thing that doesn't make sense. Now, Kraven is somebody that that is very popular, but mainly among comic book fans. Again, he hasn't had a portrayal in live action, so to me, it's weird that Sony is they're trying really hard to do the Sinister Six thing, and they're stopping at no end to achieve it by introducing characters in their own solo films. But the thing with Morbius is I was excusable. If we were still optimistic. I remember there was still some hype around this movie just prior to it coming out. Maybe about a month to a few weeks before people realized it was going to suck. But and I remember people realized it was going to suck before it came out. But there was a good period of time, between all of the delays where for some reason, despite the reputation, people were excited about it. And I don't hate the Venom movies. I think Tom Hardy's Venom is actually great casting. I just think, and I don't, and I can see the argument why, those movies don't seem to be as well written, but I personally enjoy them. I think they're decent, but still, given that reputation, I don't know what people expected.
Well, I think the other side of the whole Sony thing is that they kind of saw what Marvel initially did, with the beginning of the MCU by bringing a B-list tier character like Iron Man to the forefront. I mean, I can see how they just kind of saw that. They were just like, hey, we can do that, but let's do some of the secondary characters and do the Sinister Six thing, which of course, the latest Spider-Man movie did that better,
Well, and Iron Man is a superhero. He may have been a B-list superhero, but he was a known superhero. A casual comic book or superhero fan knows who Iron Man is. Even prior to the movie coming out, he was always known. He had his own comic book line. Has Morbius at some time had his own comic? Probably, but
yeah, well, I mean, if you recall, there's some allusions to the 90s Morbius run here, especially with the color scheme and the credit sequences and everything. So, they have at least some familiarity with the character, but yeah, me, myself, I was just like, who? When I heard that this movie was coming out, I was like,
what's funny?
What?
He's Dr. Michael Morbius is in the Spider-Man PS4 game, but prior to the vampirism, he's just portrayed as a civilian character, but there's a name drop. So somebody who's aware of the comics, and they're probably setting it up for a sequel. I don't know how they're going to go with it after we've already had this portrayal. They're probably
just get Leto to do it. Just get Leto to get into the booth. That's all they need to do.
Seriously, no. I think that Sony actually has an opportunity on their hands now, though. Given the hype around this movie, take this project and just go balls to the wall with it. Do something goofy that doesn't make any sense at all, and just go crazy with it. And you could actually have something really fun, because let me tell you here, this movie is actually a blast. I mean, we're shitting on it, but it's entertaining. It has a so bad it's good quality.
I mean, we were watching the Angry Joe review on it, and they were really trying to refute that hardcore. They was just like, no, this is like total dreck. And I'm like, yeah, I agree, it's dreck. I mean, there's so much that's generic about this.
It's a different kind of so bad it's good, I guess. Yeah. It's not like, say, The Room, where it's like, it's just completely incoherent. It makes no sense.
Yeah, but there was earnesty behind The Room.
This almost has the opposite problem. It's a very by-the-book story. It's completely forgettable. I mean, it feels very generic. And what's funny is it doesn't even, I say that, here's a superhero film that feels super generic, but it doesn't feel like a superhero film. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just comparing it to other gothic vampire stories, but it feels like a watered down underworld.
Very much so.
I mean, it kind of exists in the same realm as Blade, except Blade was actually
here's what it is. Here's what it is. It's a slightly better Blood Rain. Yeah. But I mean, everything about this movie, like especially the color grading, like they just go with that blue-green color grading that is like obvious. It feels like an allusion to Underworld or The Matrix, kind of it's almost like this weird combination of the two color grades, It's like green tint with a little bit of blue tint here and there. I mean, it really doesn't have a whole lot of color in this movie. It's very drab, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's very uninteresting. The visual effects also they're just there,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out and say that they're bad, but I don't know. I don't like the whole like the whole echolocation visual effect just didn't work for me.
They could have done that well. Like go back to the Daredevil movie and they had something similar with his ability with his blindness in a way.
Right.
Or like going to The Dark Knight when he had the spy thing, It's like that had an effect to it that was done better than this, And they could have done a good effect there.
And what's funny is, for the life of me, even though I've watched this twice, I really can't remember the action scenes very well. All I remember is that Jared Leto morbed all over everybody.
It was Morbin time. He had to morb.
Yeah, man, my favorite scene is when he says it's Morbin time.
It's the greatest.
Then he goes and he morbs over.
It is truly a scene. It is a scene in a movie.
That's what's fun about this movie is you can sit there and just have fun with it and make fun of it and be like, look, he's morbing all over everybody.
It is actually an easy movie to riff on, and I almost want to do a special commentary episode on it because it is just so much fun to riff on. It's like I would love to see like an MST 3K episode on this.
Yes.
It would be immaculate.
But like as far as like the choreography goes, and the fight scenes,
it's all obscured by that visual effect, that weird smoky vapory effect.
Well, and they also just kind of mostly show Morbius going around as like a blur everywhere, and then they do the Matrix shit, which worked in the Matrix because back then it was still sort of novel. It doesn't work here because it's been so overdone that if you're going to do bullet time, do something interesting with it. Like, for instance, in the X-Men films, in the more recent ones with the younger cast, with Quicksilver, with not Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's going to play Kraven, but the other one that played him.
Yeah.
Evan Peters. He that was actually done a little bit better. I like those scenes where everything runs in slow motion, and they did some interesting things with that. But this is just very by the numbers. It's just action movie 101.
Well, also there's just the fact that the pacing is just so all over the place here. You know? I mean, especially since a lot of that pacing is moved forward strictly by exposition. Like
the first 15 minutes of the movie are all exposition.
It's so excruciating, and it's literally just like people telling Morbius what he's done with his life up to that point. It's like, shouldn't he know all this shit? He's just like, yeah, I know, I did all this.
And what's her face, generic here, smart girl heroine.
Well, she's that's an actual character from the comics, Anne Bancroft, right? Or Martine Bancroft.
Martine, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
She's a character from the comics, which it's funny because the character that's a completely original character who we will get to
yeah,
is a much better character and has a much more compelling dynamic with Dr. Michael Morbius. But and in this movie she's just talking to Jared Leto the entire time, and she's just like, and Dr. Michael Morbius, at age 15 you graduated college, and then at age 20 you had dedicated your life to research and were on your way to winning the Nobel Prize, and she's just explaining his whole life story.
Dr. Morbius, at age 28 you finally lost your virginity. It was a very, very awkward affair, as you recall. It's like, can you imagine her just like going down a list just describing his life up to that point?
That's what it felt like. And it's like, why isn't he explaining this? I mean, he's the one that did it. At least as exposition, that would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
if he was explaining it to her, but I guess maybe they didn't want him to mansplain or something.
I don't know. I don't really get it, And I'm gonna fucking say, that other character that we're gonna talk about here in a little bit, it made for a better romantic lead than fucking Martine Bancroft. Like, way better. It's better. Like this should totally have been a gay romance. But hey, all the film Twitter idiots, the ones that we don't like. We like most all of film Twitter, honestly. But the ones. It's like those guys will be like, it got political, and we've been like, whatever. It's like, I'm surprised they're not fucking bitching about that anyways, because the subtext is there.
Yeah, so I don't know why she was even in the movie, to be honest with you. She doesn't really serve a purpose other than exposition, which could have been filled by anything.
Oh, she's got to be the momentary damsel in distress. She's got to be that for a second,
Yeah, and it's just like, there's just no place. She just feels out of place in this movie. It doesn't work. No part of the chemistry between her actor and Jared Leto feels compelling or genuine.
None of it. I mean, let's go to that diner scene after he shows up in the bus, after she...
Adria Arjona?
Okay.
She's fine as an actress. I know no lack of skill on her part, I would say, but... she also doesn't do anything to stand out in the performance. And when there is another actor who does do that, despite,
But there's that one diner scene, which, real subtle with the whole lighting thing, like Morbius is in the shadows and the darkness and she's in the light and everything. Yeah, very, very subtle, guys. But it's like, even in that scene, it's like, what is she there for? What is that scene there for? That doesn't build anything between these characters.
No, it doesn't. And what's funny is apparently she was her, or at least the actress said that the character, that in her portrayal, she took inspiration from AOC, but I don't see it.
I don't see it either. It's like, I mean, first of all, why? I think AOC is, I think Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, let's go ahead and say her full name. I mean, let's give her some respect. Miss Cortez is like, I think she's fine as an activist. Don't know what she's like as a politician.
She's
honestly.
hot.
Oh yeah, I mean, and Benny Shapp wants her feet, I guess. old Benny Shapp, hypothetically.
And I want to see her tits.
Oh my god, dude, she's gonna hear this one day, and she's just gonna shake her head in disappointment. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna make Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shake her head at us.
That's cool. She probably looks hot when she's mad too.
Oh my god. Don't go full Benny Shapiro on us, please.
Well, you see.
Oh my god.
Let's say hypothetically.
No. Oh my god, I'd much rather just be Morbin. Has he said something about this movie? We forgot to see if Ben
Oh
Shapiro
no!
did
Yeah,
a
we need to
Morbius.
we need to look for the Betty Shap.
Oh no, his the Batman review is one of the funniest things I've ever fucking seen.
Oh,
period.
he completely missed the point of that movie.
Oh, he's so glib about movies. It's like no wonder he didn't make it in Hollywood.
For the sake of argument, let's say Alexandria sent me her toes, her little piggies.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
Off the rails.
Off the rails.
On the Morbin edition of Collateral Cinema
On the
Director's Cut.
Morbius with all the more bussy or whatever.
More bussy.
Whatever the kids call it these days. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, whoops. Anyway, I mean, going back to just like this character, like she's just not utilized in any meaningful way other than near the end when she, spoiler alert, I don't give a fuck about spoilers for this.
This has been out for a while.
No, it's like we're not going to fucking worry about spoiling Morbius, people. We're not going to worry about it. But yeah, like near the end, it's like her eyes open and now she's the undead vampire character that she was in the comics. I mean, I guess they were going to do something with that, but it's like there's no build up to any of that. That's not earned, people.
No, and you know, it just felt very contrived to me. And
yeah,
what's funny is that actually happened to the character in the comics, but I don't know. It could have been done better.
It could have.
Could have saved it for another. Well, we knew this movie wasn't getting a sequel, but we're also talking about a hypothetical good version of this.
I hate to say it, and I don't want to fucking make it sound like I'm trying to like marginalize a female actress or anything, but if they would have just dialed her back a little bit and then saved her for a potential sequel for that angle and actually built up to it in a more organic manner, like she probably could have been utilized well. Just over the span of 2 movies?
Well, and
they could have slowly built up to that.
This film puts a particular emphasis on another dynamic, one that is inarguably better done.
And that is the dynamic between Morbius
and Milo.
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith carries this film. So
100%.
I am a huge fan of his. I love his portrayal as the 11th Doctor. Probably my second favorite Doctor next to David Tennant's version of the character. But and I gotta say, everything I've ever seen Matt Smith in, he just takes the spotlight. He brightens the room. It's funny how so much of the writing in this movie, so much of the dialogue they write for these characters is bad, but not a single line uttered from Matt Smith's mouth feels out of place.
It doesn't. It's almost like they specifically made this movie for him. It's like, why wasn't... They could have made him Morbius. Make Morbius British. I don't know. He could have been Morbius.
Well, what's funny is he technically plays an original character for the film.
Yeah.
Because initially he had been announced to play Aloxius Crown or Hunger.
Huh.
I don't know much about, Morbius or that run or, his adventures with Spider-Man. I haven't even really read that many comics, but yeah, originally he was going to be a comic character, but then they ended up turning him into actually somebody who's more like Emil Nikos. Who is his best friend in the comics. Actually, pretty much that exact same character. They changed the name, and then Emil Nikos is now Emil Nicholas, and he is the mentor / father figure.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Yeah, that's another thing that's very strange about this movie is that the whole dynamic between Milo and Morbius and this father figure. It's like for some reason, out of nowhere, when Milo turns vampire, like he just lashes out at this guy, and it's like, well, where's this all coming from?
Well, and
like
if you sort of foreshadowed. I mean, they have that scene as them as kids that we randomly jump back to try to set up this relationship, and then we immediately jump back to the present. But you have the scene where you see him lashing out at bullies, but I don't know. They never really go into it.
They never really call back to it. It's like, yeah, they're trying to establish that there's this, dark side to Milo's character, that he has aggressive tendencies and that he can, I mean, but it's like, where does the kind of weird, almost Machiavellian thing come from? You know, it's like, where's that coming from? I mean, it's like he just completely turns the moment that Morbius actually goes through with the procedure that he goes through and becomes what he is.
And he turns off screen, and it's. I mean, as a reveal, I can see where they were trying to go with that. Like, he was doing it the whole time, but at least show a flashback of him injecting himself or something.
Or even just a slight little flashback of him ganking one of the vials of the fucking serum.
People, but the cure, it's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman, but there's a cost. Now, I face a choice: to hunt and consume blood, or die. It's up to us to control it. What if I can't? Michael Morbius.
You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be. Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Morbius. Holy water? Really?
Yeah. You ever see Lost Boys?
Story of my life.
A new Marvel Legend arrives exclusively in movie theaters April 1st.
Yeah. At least a tiny little momentary, callback that would have noticed that he may have shoved it into his pocket or something. Something that just very, very subtle,
Something.
Something
but no,
like
it's
that.
just, it's revealed that he already took the serum. Like, not only did he have a plan to go against his friend's wishes, his surrogate brother, but he already did it. It's already been done. We never saw it. We never will see it. He's already a vampire, and he's already done one killing.
Yeah, that's right. Which is, honestly, I think the one scene in the entire movie that was actually done kind of well, if playing on certain horror cliches.
Right.
It was at least done well. I mean, it was actually a suspenseful scene, and, it actually used some horror tropes to full effect.
Well, that's just because they copied it from.
Yeah, they outright copied it. Yeah, pretty much from like Lights Out or something like that, like straight up. But it's at least a decent copy,
right?
But also, who is this character that's being killed? It's like we barely see her.
Right.
That's not even established that well when you think about it.
And it's not even established why he killed her or what happened. I mean, I guess, later on we put the pieces together, but I don't know, just you gotta... I like the principle of show, don't tell, but sometimes you have to tell a little bit or actually show.
Yeah.
And I guess that the characters, just has this insatiable bloodlust, but it's just so jarring.
Here's the problem with this movie.
Uh-huh.
It has lots of show and lots of tell and nothing connecting the two. That's
true.
What it is.
How does this movie
I don't know how they make that disconnect. I have no clue.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, truly.
I mean, and then, once again, going back to that final fight, which, by the way, I couldn't see hardly any of it.
It's all dark and it's all very fast-paced.
It's all dark and there's vapory stuff everywhere. It's like, okay, and everything. But, I mean, then at the end, he brings those bats up. You know, it's like we still don't get an explanation for that either. Like let's go back to the beginning of the movie. It's like that's a very out of place scene that's easily forgotten in the movie, right?
Yeah.
But in no way does it really establish how he makes this connection with the bats other than capturing them.
Oh, yeah. And I kind of was wondering about those. Like, when exactly does this take place? Because we have that opening, and then we have, and that's how the film opens, and there's almost no context. And then there's 25 years ago showing them as kids, and then there's a bunch of exposition dump as adults. And it just feels very disconnected. And that whole first, opening scene was actually, I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah, but it immediately raised questions the moment that you saw it, though.
Right.
Questions that still kind of carried throughout the movie.
Yeah, that don't ever get answered. And so it's like, what exactly is going on here? Because he doesn't have his powers, so he's not controlling the bats, but I don't know. What was the purpose of that
It's
scene?
never established. And it's like, how does he have control over these bats? Like, where does he gain control of them?
Like, he sends them all into a frenzy by showing his bloodied palm, his cut palm, and we see a corpse that's like just completely an animal corpse that's been completely sucked dry into bones, and yet
Which once again, not how vampire bats work.
Hundreds or thousands of bats all just like swarm around him and the other guys. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Can you stop contradicting yourself for 5 minutes?
I don't know how else to really put it with that. It's like, how do you go from that to an orphanage years ago to current day? How does that
Matt
happen?
Smith dancing half naked.
Oh, we have to talk about that scene.
How sad.
We have to. This is the Bully Maguire scene of this generation.
Yes,
that's what it is.
And I've seen edits of them put together. There's one in particular that's really well done, where like emo Peter throws the fucking jacket, and then Matt Smith catches it and puts it on, and Bully Maguire and Milo are just in sync. It's really well done.
I know what you're talking about. It's an amazing edit. It really is.
But that scene in and of itself, that is enough to make this movie. This is all build up for that scene. Okay, that is true peak cinema, Beau.
That's why my ultimate theory is that this movie was made for Matt Smith, and he should have just been fucking Morbius. Like, seriously, this was made for Matt Smith because he nails it so much. It's obvious that he's having a blast making this movie.
It's funny that song actually is saying "have sex." By the way, I looked it up, and it's called "Exe" by Off the Meds or something. It's all in Afrikaans and shit. It's like it's all foreign except for the have sex part.
Yeah. Afrikaans would make it like roughly South African, which there has been a wave of music coming from South Africa as of late.
But you know what? That song is from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Which was probably around the time that was being edited into the movie, I suppose.
Yeah,
with all the delays.
Wasn't Morbius kind of an initial victim of the COVID pandemic?
Mm-hmm. It was.
Yeah, that's right. It was initially. When was it initially supposed to come out?
At some point, it was supposed to come out in January this year. But I want to say at some point it was also slated for at least a 2021 release, if not a 2020.
It had to have been. I mean, I'm even kind of trying to look for references to 2021, culture. There.
This movie was announced a long ass time ago. I remember that.
It was.
And along with the rest of Sony's film projects, which may or may not come to light, I don't know.
I still want them to make them. If it's like this and it's hilarious, I want them to make it.
They are moving ahead with Venom, so
they may as well just do it.
And the Spider-Verse shit is in its own category, and Into the Spider-Verse is a phenomenal film.
It is, yeah.
Whatever team is behind that, have those guys write the rest of whatever the fuck Sony's trying to do with Spider-Man characters.
Hire them. I mean, if you could take James Gunn, from Guardians of the Galaxy, and have him come and make a Suicide Squad movie, you should be able to get the writers from Into the Spider-Verse or whatever to do this shit.
It's all Sony, so it shouldn't be difficult for them to do it. So
that was a Lord and Miller movie too. That was directed by Lord and Miller, who if you know anything about animation these days, they know their shit. So they would be the ones to make an animated Spider-Man movie.
So they only work with animated, and that explains why they haven't been involved in anything else.
The one time that they tried to do live action, it was when they were going to do the Han Solo movie.
Okay.
They were going to do Solo, but they didn't work out there. So
it might have been better.
It would have been, but I mean, I heard that what they were proposing was just too radical for Disney.
Oh, really?
And everything. So yeah. I mean, it would have been interesting though. Would have been interesting to see. I want to see them helm an actual live action movie. It would be really cool.
You know what? Fuck it. Give Morbius 2 to Tommy Wiseau.
Yes, he would know exactly what to do with the character because maybe Johnny Vampire.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe Johnny Vampire. But anyway, I think that's about as much as we can really say about this. I mean, we can maybe talk longer about it, but I mean, what else is there to say? It has been Morbin time on our show this entire time. We've been morbing everybody.
Truly a film review, Beau.
This is a film review from a movie podcast, 100%.
And this is what's going to send us
into
stardom. We're going to make more billions and more billions of dollars.
And get all the more bussy.
All the more bussy.
All the more bussy. But yeah, anyway, what's your final thoughts on Morbius? It's like, what would you rate this movie?
I would rate it as one of the movies of all time.
The movie.
The movie.
It is the movie of all time.
The movie of all time.
It is such a movie that I don't know how much more movie it could be.
Ironically, 5 out of 5.
Ironically, 5 out of 5, but unironically.
Unironically. Like a 2, probably.
Unironically, I give it more billions and more billions and more billions of ratings.
More billion out of 10.
Yes, it is the most Morbius movie of all. It is truly a Morbin good time. It's a Morbin time. It's Morbin time. 100% Morbin time. Morbin. That's right. We're killing this meme. We are killing this meme. Dies here. Straight up. This is like the Viking funeral for this meme. Right here.
Yeah, this is the last. This is the end of it. We are definitely killing, and Morbius is not an undead vampire. He's a living vampire. So
you can kill him, like
I guess
with actual.
Or if you
normal
kill him,
means.
does he become undead? I don't know. That's probably been explored.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it has. I mean, once again, we don't know much about Morbius, but yes, truly. A movie.
We still don't know much about Morbius.
Well, I don't know anything about this. Even watching this movie, I don't know what the fuck Morbius is. Like, what the fuck is this?
I think a lot of people walked into this not even knowing it was a Marvel movie, much less a superhero film.
I would not be surprised by that. I mean, I honestly wouldn't. Almost like, you back in the day, you went to see Steel, that was Shaquille O'Neal, and you probably didn't even know it was a DC movie. It's like, yeah, it was a DC Comics movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
So was Men in Black, right?
Men in Black that was a comic book movie, but I don't think that was a Marvel or a DC or anything.
I think that was related to DC.
Wasn't it like Dark Horse Comics or something like that?
Probably. You're probably right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, Tyrese Gibson is in this.
Tyrese Gibson. God damn.
They got Tyrese to play a character who in the comics is a white man.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's a cop here. Yeah, these cops in this movie, what the fuck is up with them?
Okay.
They're investigating. Like, yeah, here we are. We're talking more about this movie when we were trying to wrap things up. It's like, what the fuck were up with those cops?
We got to talk about the cops because one of my big gripes about the movie is how the fuck did they figure it out? They connected the dots in such a random way and they happen to be right, but how the fuck did you get there? They're like, Dr. Michael Morbius, you have a rare genetic condition that you've been working on. You wouldn't happen to be secretly conducting experiments on that boat where we saw evidence of an actual vampire, right?
If I would have been Morbius, I would have been like, how? How did you come up with that? What?
Not only do they suspect him and question him, no, they put the cuffs on him right away because what? He looks a little bit better off than they were led to believe due to his condition?
Yeah. I mean, maybe there could have been a reasonable explanation for that for all they knew. I mean, what the fuck?
It is such a stretch. And again, it happens to be right. I get it. It's like whenever you got the answer right in math, but you did all the work wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the fuck? How did you come to this?
At least believably, bring characters to the conclusion of the truth. We needed to talk about that, because that's probably one of the biggest ways that this movie just completely falls apart.
And why did Agent Rodrigo have an Alan Alda voice? I swear to God, he sounded exactly like Alan Alda from MASH, dude. It was like, like that really weird kind of voice that he has. But yeah, the cops in this movie are very weird.
The situation with the cops is not resolved. He breaks out of prison. And then,
they're seen briefly near the end whenever he goes all morbid on the bats and everything. So yeah,
he morbs all over the city.
He morbs all over the city. The city gets morbed hardcore. It's the most morbed city of all. It's like millions of lives were lost in the morbing. Millions.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about the morbing. No, we don't. But anyway, okay, I guess all of our thoughts are finally said about this. My rating, unironically, is, I don't know, 2.5, whatever. Just watch it for the memes, people. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those movies. You watch it for the memes. I mean, I don't even see how you could hate watch this, because I don't know how you could really hate this movie. I can see how you can maybe be bored by it, but yeah. That's truly a Morbin time. Truly. But anyway, Ash, what's happening with Collateral Gaming?
Well, as of today, as of the time of recording, we just recorded our episode on Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, or at least part 1 of it. It's going to be our season finale, and then we are done with season 4 of Collateral Gaming. We're starting back up in September. Super excited about that. We should also be releasing a video game recommendations episode out soon, which you are welcome to join for.
I would love to join that. I'll get on my PS Classic and drag some games up to the forefront.
Hell yeah. We also just released a Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes game launch review, and that was a lot of fun. It kind of timed that with the release of our episode on our first Fire Emblem game, so
excellent. Right on. Now, as for Collateral Cinema, that's in the postseason. If you want to check out our previous season finale, check out our episode on the Chuck Norris classic sidekicks from the 90s. We went on a real 90s kick last season, so if you're into that sort of thing, yeah, check it out. But we most recently did a full-length commentary for the movie Demonic Toys, the Full Moon Features classic, directed by Charles Band. Well, not directed by Charles Band, it's produced by him, and written by him. But it was a good time. We had fun.
Yeah.
What can I say? And we will be reviewing Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yes, we are going to be doing that. I really wanted to go see it tomorrow, and it comes out, but with finances and life, it may not happen exactly as planned, but we are going to be releasing an episode on it. That should be the next thing to look forward to from us.
Yes, definitely. And also, very soon, we are still slated to do our Mega Cowboy Bebop episode with the Retro Anime Podcast. Like, we are going to get that episode done.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we are also going to have an episode with Geek Freaks as well. It's like they're going to have us on. I mean, we're going to do some kind of, we're going to do a little interview and talk about our movies and the podcast and everything. And we're going to do a little top 5 list or something like that. I haven't determined what it would be, but yeah, we're going to, it's probably going to be, we're probably going to be recording it early August. So yeah, look for that. And, I mean, are there any other movies that we should review? Like, I mean, didn't you want to do a Cronenberg movie, Crimes of the Future?
Yeah, I was talking about it because, that could have been our At the Movies episode for last month.
Well, here's what it is. You need to watch more Cronenberg movies. So here's my proposal. We'll do another Director's Cut episode where we review a couple of his old horror movies.
All right, that works for me.
Yeah, maybe like... maybe we'll do Shivers and Scanners or something like that.
All right. But yeah, any new like movies that are coming out? I mean, that would have been a perfect at the movies episode. I am really excited about Thor, though. I loved Ragnarok. It's one of my favorite MCU films, and I have high hopes for Taika Waititi's second.
Supposedly he says that it's better than Ragnarok.
That's what
he
says.
He's hyping it up hardcore. So yeah. Anywho. When it comes to Collateral Cinema, we're going to be coming back in October. I believe our first episode is going to be the Human Centipede, so that's going to be fun. We're going to have all kinds of people on that episode, so look for that. And you can find Collateral Cinema on Spotify, Podbean, Google Play, or Google Podcasts, I guess it's called now. I mean, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube, we're on iHeartRadio, we're pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. We're constantly trying to find new platforms to join and everything. Like, we even have some platforms hitting us up to start a page and everything. So look for us there, like places like PicoLink or Laylo or whatever. And also look for us on Good Pods. It's like rate and review us, follow us there, listen to our episodes there, and help us climb the charts there. We've charted a few times. Even though I admit I haven't really been doing a lot of activity on Good Pods, but people still listen to us there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, check us out there. And you can find both Collateral Cinema and Collateral Gaming on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on Patreon, where for us you can find full-length feature commentaries in 2 tiers starting at $1. You can just follow the show and you can help support us. And you could have $5, which will give you actual access to our commentaries, and we will also give you a shout out on an episode of the podcast. So, yeah, check us out there. And same with the Collateral Gaming. You have like full-on Let's Plays, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. That's what we do with our Patreon content.
Awesome. Yeah, so check Collateral Gaming there. And I guess with that said, the MORBIN time has commenced, and it has ended. We are concluding the morbing, everybody. We got all the more bussy, we have all the more billions, and yes, it's MORBIN time.
That's right. So I've been method actor Jared Leto portraying Ashley Chancellor.
And I've been Doctor Who actor Matt Smith portraying Beau Maddox.
Nice.
And this was Collateral Cinema, and yeah, fuck the fucking Supreme Court.
Fuck the Supreme Court.
Laters. Cinema is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and movie clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.